episode of Stream Squad. I am Angela, and we are joined by Nick today.
What's going on?
Hey.
It's been a while.
It has been a while since we have Nick. I am still back here as well. Man in the booth. We might get Jimmy on later.
Yeah.
I hear. One of our other new guys. Yeah.
Just got back from San Francisco. Got to hang out with our friends at Facebook last week. So some good things in the works for you all, and one we'll be talking about a little bit later in today's program.
Cool. Everyone doing all right?
Doing good.
Doing good so far?
Enjoying how warm the weather's been lately over here.
I'm jet lagged.
Nick's still trying to figure it out. Cool. Shall we jump right into it? Talk about some happenings in the industry of live video.
So to get things started, we're going with Twitter for today. So Twitter's big thing that they've already started doing for 2018 is broadcasting breaking news. So anyone who uses Twitter, you might have seen this, especially on the desktop, where at the top of the trending topics, you'll see a little red dot next to some, and that means there's actual live video playing. While Twitter started this in 2017 for big events like the Grammys or the Super Bowl, they've now been shifting to also do local news. So that's definitely exciting. This has been a direct response to a statement that Mark Zuckerberg made, where he is also planning on implementing something like this for Facebook. So Twitter's kind of taken the jump on it, and they're pairing that live video with live comments.
And just to clarify, is this made on the street, random people using Twitter doing breaking news, or is it from official sources within local communities?
It's going to be official sources within local communities. So of course the conversation going on will have anyone just kind of jumping in to comment with that hashtag. But to make sure that the news is reputable and coming through correctly, they're going to have pretty much tapped people in advance to make sure the live local news stations, it's their Twitter accounts that are promoting the news and getting played.
Good deal. It'll be good to see some local affiliates. I guess that would be NBC, ABC, CBS.
There are local news affiliates in a lot of major markets, and so being able to tap into that for what we're seeing on Twitter, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I know one thing they said, a lot of the news stations are happy to get on board with this because there was a survey done last year. For 2017, only 37% of people are getting their news from local TV stations, and that's down from 46% in 2016. And they've realized more and more people are going online to get their news. So this is a way to still keep those local stations in the forefront, but also reach out to people where they are.
Mm-hmm. And I guess there's not a lot of information on this yet, but from a monetization standpoint, it's not clear if Twitter's paying stations or if this is voluntary to share this information. It's probably a good transition into our next topic. YouTube has announced changes on what requirements are required. Should have tried that a little different. The requirements for monetizing your YouTube channel. So Angela, if you want to run through what we know.
So we brought this up when it broke in mid-January, but YouTube's partner program has a lot of different features, and one of those is monetization. As of yesterday, I want to say, they've put new changes in effect. So your channel needs a combination of at least 4,000 total watched hours within the past year. So that means, the time people spend watching all of the videos on your channel needs to be at least at 4,000. And you also need at least 1,000 subscribers. Now the subscribers are easy to see by going on your channel. If you're a YouTuber, by going into your creator studio, you're able to see how many current watch hours you have and also what are your most popular videos. There've been a lot of people going back and forth on what they think about the program, but YouTube's done this to basically eliminate scammers or impersonators, people who were essentially stealing other people's viral video, putting it up, and being able to monetize it right off the bat. So, if you have a YouTube channel that didn't meet those criteria as of yesterday, you should receive an email just letting you know that. As soon as you hit both of those criteria, you can reapply, and they're saying within 1 or 2 weeks you'll be back in the program.
Good deal. So we all like making money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say at least it's something that they're doing
to try and crack down on these things like people making money off of other people's content or things like that. It might have not been resolved the best way, but at least they're thinking about it and moving or putting in the process and the right steps to fixing it.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of a high bar if you're just starting out, and getting 1,000 subscribers doesn't happen overnight in a lot of cases. It takes a lot of work and a lot of consistency and really thinking about your content and your strategy. But those oftentimes are the programs that bring the most value to viewers. So it's good to see that there's a proactive effort from YouTube in curbing some of the abuse that's been happening, and would expect other platforms that have any monetization to take similar steps. If you are a creator that's just starting out and you haven't met the minimum criteria, maybe consider platforms like Patreon, or in some cases YouTube also enables a donate function. There are other ways to monetize content that aren't getting a check from YouTube. So be creative, and there's lots of different options out there. But if you're creating good content and you're consistent, you should be well on your way toward being eligible for the new requirements on the YouTube Partner Program.
Absolutely.
And the last thing that we have for today is kind of news that we're excited about to see where it goes from here. So Amazon has had a job listing up for the past few months for a senior digital content producer. And this is also flagged to be a part of what's known as AZ Live LLC, so Amazon Live. Now this is a new startup company that Amazon has just gotten off the ground, and they're going to be producing video to complement shopping experiences. This hasn't happened just yet, but it is something Amazon's planning. But with seeing this position up and the fact that it's requiring a lot of skills that are typical of television production, it's really exciting to see where Amazon could go from here.
And some of this is speculation, but Amazon's making some big moves. They own Twitch, which is the biggest streaming platform for live gaming. And I think it was the Black Friday sales or around Christmas, they even had some YouTube marketplaces or vendors that were actually doing live video on their pages. So that was kind of a selective process, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with live video in particular moving forward. But a great way to sell products. QVC has been crushing it for a long time, and I think we'll start seeing more of those types of experiences online moving forward. Anybody out there using Switcher with some video experience, if you want to work for Amazon,
Positions open.
maybe check this one out. But I think that's a good recap on some of the bigger industry news from this past week. Always new things happening. It's a fun place to be.
So I think, shall we move over? Jamie's getting his camera all set up for our next section, talking about our live video strategy, and I think we're kind of going over lighting and what best to do or some good practices.
And while Dan's setting that up, every week we do a live webinar on the Switcher Facebook page. And this is primarily geared toward new users that might not have a lot of experience doing video before or using Switcher for the first time. And there are a lot of really cool things you can do with Switcher with multiple cameras and graphics. But there's also a lot you can do with one device. And you don't have to have a big shopping list before you get started. You don't have to buy a ton of mics and lighting. There's a lot of creative ways to get good quality video with no cost whatsoever. And so we're going to kind of kick things off with a few lighting tips and tricks, from what you can do without spending any money to where you could take things with a little bit of an investment.
So how about it, Jimmy? You ready in there?
I'm so ready, man. Yeah, bring it on.
All right, you're live.
Oh, hey, what's going on? It's Jimmy, your man on the street. I'm over here.
Jimmy?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Your lighting's really bad.
I'm sorry? What? Man, I spent like an hour on this, man. I've been working on this like all afternoon. I've got nothing done today.
Dramatization.
What's the problem?
Well, it looks like I can't really see anything. Your face is just one big shadow.
Okay.
I can see outside the window behind you really
I think
well.
I know why. I think it's because I purposely did a bad job of lighting so I could demonstrate what not to do. And then, okay, let me see if I can try to correct this a little bit. Oh, okay, it's starting to come back, and
Hey.
oh, hey, look, you can even see Dan over there. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, Jimmy, not quite on the street over here, but yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what you need to do to get some better lighting. It's often overlooked, and there's a couple reasons to overlook. Sometimes people just take it for granted because you've got lights in the room already. I've purposely left these off, but another thing, maybe you don't have any money and you just don't really know much about studio lighting. You've never dealt with it. Well, I'm going to give you a couple tips. Here's why it's important. First of all, it emphasizes the subject. Like right now you can see Dan's back there, he's blown out, but I've got pretty good exposure so you can see that I'm the important thing that you need to be looking at. So that's the first thing, is it emphasizes what you should be looking at. It tells your audience where to look. If you're blending in with the background that's really distracting, you don't really know what to look at. So that's the number one thing. The second thing is it helps your camera do a lot of the automatic functions that Switcher kind of has built into it. You can leave it on automatic and it'll automatically find that face. I don't know, Dan, if you want to like put everything back to automatic, and you'll see how the camera will automatically try to find the best exposure and focus and everything. And and even if you want to, the camera is going to have a better job. It's going to do a better job if you let it do it automatically. So better lighting is going to make that happen. And third of all, it just makes everything look more professional, makes your brand look more professional if you're a business owner and you're trying to sell something. So that's definitely why it's important. So any of you all want to chime in on this?
I mean, you're using something as simple as a window, as in this example, and using the lighting to your advantage. Don't shoot into the light. Otherwise, you're going to have silhouettes, it's going to be dark, there's going to be shadows, and people aren't going to be able to see what you want to show them unless it's on the other side of the window and outside. But if you use that light so that it's actually shining on yourself or the subject, that's when you're going to get the kind of quality that we're getting here, and that costs $0. Yeah,
that's the number one thing I was going to say is, as Dan's fixing some of the exposure right there. Number one, use what you already have. Shoot near a window. I'm shooting right next to a window, but I'm not shooting through it. If you've got a storefront, go stand near the storefront. But definitely don't shoot out of the window because that's going to look bad. So always look towards the light, not away from it. Another thing you can do, you can take a sheet of blank white paper when you start, and you can put that in front of whatever camera you have on a tripod, and just, if you go into the manual settings, there's a little setting called gray card. I don't know if Dan can maybe point to a tutorial about that later on, but the gray card will automatically set white balance for you if you're having issues with lighting. So that's another feature that you can mess with.
I just messed it up and then
you fixed it. Yeah, I was turning green for a moment. But another thing you can do, bring some lamps from home. That's another thing that you can do. Like for example, I've got a little light over here that's off to the side, and what I'm going to do with that is, if I turn another lamp on, it just kind of emphasizes a little bit more of the lighting that I've got going on. So even that little step just kind of made a little extra something happen. So another thing you can do, you can bounce light off of walls, but just put a little extra thought into what you're doing if you have a consistent place that you're streaming to or streaming from, and it's going to make a big difference. I mean, I set this up today in an hour, but you can kind of see that the emphasis is on the subject and everybody knows where they're supposed to be looking, right?
All right, and Jimmy, if you want to run out here real quick.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to start making more video and you have a fixed setup and you want to look at something like studio lighting, obviously there's probably still some things we could improve here, but this is a really relatively inexpensive 2-light kit you can get on Amazon. There are a lot of options. Would love to see what other people are using in the user group or in the comments on the video. Again, just making sure you have good lighting has a really, really big impact on the quality of the video. So we'll be talking more about this. We'll be providing more resources on it. Again, you can do a lot with very little, even using just natural light from your window. And if you are interested in purchasing gear, there's a lot of really good options out there. I think we also have a blog post that went up a few months ago.
Yeah, I'll link to that right now.
We will be sharing that in the comments.
And I know that one thing Jimmy mentioned is using, a sheet of white paper and the gray card feature. We do have that in Switcher Studio as well. The webinar that Nick mentioned a few minutes ago that Dan and I will be running later today in about an hour and a half We do go over all of the camera controls in Switcher Studio, including how to use Gray Card. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check out the webinar and we'll go over that in more detail.
Awesome. Very, very good. Yeah, this is one of those things that when you're first starting out, I feel like a lot of people can struggle with is figuring out, how, someone might get a little discouraged or whatnot, thinking their video is not looking great, and just a couple simple taps on your phone can really fix that.
Yeah, I know one thing that, when I first got into video with a couple of friends, we didn't have the budget to buy any kind of lighting really, but we bought a couple of $6 floodlights from Walmart and clear light bulbs, and it was better than the fluorescent lights. So definitely, think about what you can do, how you can position stuff. You can always upgrade later, but even small, inexpensive items can really do a lot.
And I guess another thing with lighting, this was especially important a few years ago, mobile devices, iPhones, iPads in particular, in the past haven't performed well in low lighting situations. So if you're at a conference or an event where you don't have really control over what kind of lighting is available, sometimes you would see a little bit of a grain in the video. That's improved a lot in the past few years, especially with newer devices like the iPhone 8, the iPhone 10. But if that is something that you are experiencing, maybe consider what options are available for lighting, and that can improve the quality and help reduce that graininess or noise in the video. So you want to move on to the next topic?
Sure. So we're going to get into some user group happenings. Now, I always like to let you guys know every week on the broadcast, we do have an online Facebook community called Switcher Studio Enthusiasts. Really quick, there are 3 ways that you can join it. The first, of course, is typing in Switcher Studio Enthusiasts on Facebook and searching that way. Also from our Switcher Studio Facebook page, you can click on group and it'll take you into the user group. Or if you're logged in with your Switcher account at switcherstudio.com, there'll be an option in your dashboard to click on join the online community. Either of those 3 ways will take you there. There's going to be a short survey to fill out, and that just lets us know more about what you're doing with Switcher and how we can help. And then you'll be into the user group. We are very close to 2,000 people, so I think by next week's show we'll be at 2,000. But there's all kinds of tips and tricks in there. You can share content you've created. We're all in the user group, but also you can ask questions and get help with your questions. So what we like to do each week on the show is go over, questions that kind of stood out to us and the answer for those. And we've got 2 for you guys this week.
I think the first one we're covering is really good because somebody asked that in the comments. So.
Really?
So I'll let you guys take it away.
Sure. So that one is, some people have noticed when they are watching live video on Facebook, the audio and video might be out of sync a little bit. And this isn't necessarily for you creating content, but you just watching content that's on there. It actually has a quick fix most of the time. If you close out of that video or close the app if you're watching on your phone and reopen it, 9 times out of 10, everything has synced back up.
And just to give a little background on that, if you're doing live video, whether it's the Facebook app or with a third-party tool like Switcher, we are an official partner, so we work closely with them, and we saw some problems with audio synchronization early on. But what happens with a lot of live video platforms, they actually send the audio and video separately. They're 2 different streams that get synced back up during playback. So if someone's watching in the Facebook app or on their computer, whether it's in Safari or Mozilla or Chrome, on a computer or a tablet, there's a lot of different scenarios that Facebook and YouTube and Twitter have to support on the playback side. To account for these different devices, the different browsers, and in some cases the way that playback is managed can be a little bit different for each. So there's an opportunity for these 2 different streams to not always match up, and in a lot of cases if you just refresh the browser or close out and reopen, the playback experience will sync back up and you'll be ready to keep watching like you would expect to for this type of content. In very rare cases, it can happen on the production side, But Switcher also records a version of your video on your device. So if you're using an iPhone or an iPad, there is a recording saved to the device, and you can take that file to upload afterwards if you do experience problems with the live video or you're not able to recover it on the playback side. But most cases, it happens at the platform level during playback. And if you see this or there's comments from your viewers, just doing a quick refresh or restart will solve that problem 9 times out of 10.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
okay.
was not the question someone had in the comments. It was the I think we're going to talk about next, talking about comments.
Yeah,
inside
the comments in the comments. So
Comment inception.
last week on the show, we told you guys about the new update to the Facebook comments inside of Switcher Studio. And now you're able to see the reactions, so you can see who's left a like or a heart or a ha-ha face. But also the entire display of how names are shown has also been updated. What we've seen both in the user group and in a few emails is that for a few users out there, since this update, it's no longer showing the name of who's left the comment.
So I'm going to do a quick clarification here. There is a slight kind of reformatting in the way that comments are shown. So if someone comments on your video and you see that inside of the Switcher app, it will show their name and what they've typed. And if that user sends subsequent messages or other comments, those will sometimes get grouped. So you'll see the name appear once with all of the comments from that individual user. So in most cases, that's what our customers are seeing, is that these comments have been grouped, and that's a new kind of formatting element, and something that we are going to revisit to make sure it's clear for everyone. And if this is something that goes beyond this particular use case and you are having problems with, Angela has a few solutions that we've been able to give people through support.
Yeah, so if you're live and you're seeing comments but no names, so you're not seeing anyone's name pop up, there are 2 quick things that have helped to fix the problem for our users this past week. So the first thing to do is a basic uninstall and reinstall of the Switcher Studio app. Now I do want to let you guys know, make sure you've backed up any video files or image files before you do this. Once you delete the app, everything saved on it goes away too. So make sure you've backed up any videos you need before deleting it. But for a lot of users, just that simple uninstall and reinstall solves the issue right then and there. Now for some users, it's not fixed just yet. For this, you do need to do a full unlink relink of Facebook. So for this to happen, you're going to go into the Switcher Studio app and unlink your Facebook account. Then you're going to go on your Facebook page and delete the access to Switcher Studio, and then you're going to link that back up. For everyone else who the uninstall reinstall did not work for, doing the second step has corrected the issue. So if you guys are noticing that you're not seeing any names on the comments, do those 2 steps. If you do have questions on how to do the unlink relink, send us a message at support@switcherstudio.com, and we actually have a document that will walk you through that process. It takes about 3 minutes to do. It's pretty painless, but it can be a little intimidating the first time.
And with all good things and new things, there can be some hiccups. So we're really excited about this update, having access to the reactions and the number of likes and hearts and smiley faces, that wows that people are coming through. You'll actually be able to see that inside of Switcher Studio if you're doing Facebook Live. You do not have to update the app for this particular improvement. This is something that we were able to push out to our users. And if there are problems, let us know. You can post those in the user group, but email support@switcherstudio.com is typically the best way. We'll log that. We can look at your particular scenario and setup. And if there are any ongoing issues, we can push updates. And we're really excited for this one. Comments and interaction for live video are a really important part of building relationships with your customers and your viewers. And we have some other improvements in the works that are related to that particular level of interactivity. So thanks for using Switcher. And again, if you have problems, be sure to email us directly at support@switcherstudio.com.
Yeah, and we should mention as well that those comments show up if you create the event inside of Switcher. So if you're doing, like, we schedule our Facebook Live broadcasts, so because of that, we're not creating the live event inside of Switcher directly, so those comments aren't going to show up. But if that's the case, you still need to see them. I just have a computer here sitting next to me ready to watch them, or you can just have a phone or another device, which is not a good way to just monitor your stream and make sure.
I'm even
everything's
doing
going
it
well.
here. So
Nick's watching along. So you probably see a comment in there from Rob asking how we doing the thing with the black boxes on the side. So I'm going to do a one-up of Angela and show what we're talking about here, and I can just kind of mess it or talk about that. So what we have here is it's kind of like our agenda, if you will, on the side of the screen. And the way we set that up is this is just a PNG I've created. So I went into Photoshop, made a 1280 by 720p file, and then just created in there, and then I just was able to import that image straight into Switcher, and that's how we're doing that. Those ones there. So I think that's it for the user group, right?
Yeah, so the next thing we have, it's the way we always like to end the show. It's our hashtag #MateWithSwitcher segment. So as I mentioned before, if you guys are in the user group, you can share content that you've created in there. It's normally video, but we do have a few articles as well, and we do love seeing those. Also, anything you've made with Switcher that you're putting on Twitter or Instagram, use the hashtag #MadeWithSwitcher. We do go through that tag. We love seeing what you guys have done, and we like to bring an example of something that really stuck out to us each week on the broadcast. So this week we have a blog post by Dave Basulto. If you guys aren't sure who Dave is, he is the creator of iOgrapher. For those of you who love seeing the little filmmaking cases that we use, that is from iOgrapher.com. But we can post a link to this blog in the comments for you. But Dave recently attended a high school playoff basketball game for the school he used to teach at, and he did a Switcher Studio live stream at that game. So this blog post details exactly how he set it up, how Switcher was used at the game, and what benefits he got from using Switcher as opposed to just, a traditional camera or anything like that.
And it was a really simple setup. He had a single device, just an iPhone, in one of the iOgrapher cases. He had a shotgun microphone, so he was getting the sound from the gymnasium and the announcers, and you could hear the fans and the excitement. And using Switcher, he also was able to put graphics on screen to show the name of the schools and different logos. Really simple setup, one device, and really a lot higher production quality than he would have gotten with just using a standard camera that's whatever you're pointing it at.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, how often do you think if you just had the one device and no graphics or anything, you get people asking, what's the score? How much time's left? What's going on in the game? And with this, you could make a graphic in there and update the scores, tell people a little more what's going on. Even what I think is really cool, if you wanted to get a little more involved, you can just get a second iOS device and download some sort of timekeeping app or something.
or point it at the scoreboard.
Or just point it at the scoreboard.
We see that
exactly.
a lot. Yeah.
And as something as simple as that, you can bring in a full screen, or you can just bring in the scores, the time, everything, really easily. But yeah, I think what you're able to do with one device gets overlooked a lot with Switcher Studio.
And this is a great post by Dave. We really like their product, and excited to see him using Switcher at his alma mater. So be sure to check that out. Dan's got a link in the comments. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. But if you all have questions, keep the conversation going, put those in, and we'll continue to monitor this thread. Be sure to tune in for the webinar if you are using Switcher for the first time or you have any questions. And Dan and Angela will be going into a lot more detail there. And if you haven't already, go to switcherstudio.com and log into the dashboard. Use your email address and password that you made in the app or from the website, and poke around. There's some really cool stuff there. There's a lot of extra resources, tips, tricks, again, information to get to the user group. And we'll continue to enhance that experience through the online dashboard. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see
Absolutely.
you guys.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.